Welcome back, Warriors. We're here with the Year 5 Season 1 Asunder stream, and with us today are two members of the fight team, Steph and JC. How you guys doing?
Pretty good yourself.
Great, thank you.
We're doing okay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a pretty hype event, I think. And we have a certain night that we want to talk about. Steph, why do we want to talk about Warden today?
So Warden was one of our heroes that we had in our previous testing ground. We put Warden in there because Warden had quite a, let's say, broken kind of dual playstyle that was all centered around backdodge, shoulder bash. It basically completely dictated the pace of the match. Enemy heroes didn't have tools to deal with it, so it wasn't a particularly healthy kind of dual way to be strong. On the other side, Warden's a bit too weak in group fights, Dominion type matches. Has long recoveries, doesn't have a lot of branching opportunities after a lot of attacks. Basically, we wanted to try to bring up the group fight potential and the killing potential and bring down the stalling, pace dictating kind of style of duel.
Makes sense. I think that lines up with what we saw on the testing grounds there. So can we go through some of the specific changes, including the ones that we already did?
Yeah. So basically, we got a lot of feedback from the surveys and from from a bunch of different sources on Warden testing grounds, and it was pretty well received by most of the community. So we're comfortable shipping Warden with the changes he had. So I'll do a quick recap of what they were. If you're interested in more, you can always go watch the VODs from the previous Warriors Den and look at the patch notes. But overall, the big changes are that we removed backdodge shoulder bash. As Stefan was saying, it makes a fight a little bit less static. So that's pretty good. Also, his shoulder bash changed from pretty much, well, actually every single one of his attacks except shoulder bash. So you can do heavy finisher into shoulder bash, zone attack into shoulder bash, all sorts of things. It really helps him, control the fight a little bit more, get into it, to get more pressure, more mix-ups. So that's always welcome. His side-heavy finishers are now unblockable, same as his top. And they also have slightly bigger hitboxes, so you're better off in group fights. You can target swap and hit other people around you. That's also very good. And last but not least, his zone attack recovery is much smaller. It lets you be able to do a zone attack and not have to always commit to doing a heavy finisher afterwards or shoulder bash now. So that you can actually just use zone attack as a way to keep enemies off you and do like interesting things there. So with those changes that we put in, we also added a couple things from a lot of the feedback that we got. Also, there was a few things that needed tweaking. So like, for example, one of the things we're tweaking is the side heavy finisher damage has been reduced. It was a bit too high, especially compared with the top heavy finisher does. So with the side doing a little bit less, it works a bit better. The side heavy finishers are also now dodgeable after a top heavy opener. That was a bit of a bug that we had, where you couldn't really dodge it. Like you could, but you had to dodge it super late, so that was a bit problematic. So that's fixed. Zone attack is also now dodgeable, which again was a little bug that we had in the build. So now this works, like you can actually dodge it fully and there's no problem there. And last but not least, we're replacing Thick Blood with Thrilling Comeback. So Stefan, you have anything to say about this?
Yes, of course.
Always.
I mean, like internally on the dev team, Thick Blood is, if not our most hated, is quite near the top of our most hated feats. Yeah. In terms of the players' survey feedback that we saw from the previous testing grounds, it seems to be also a enemy of the people, which is cool. And the particular problems that we have here are like, in terms of the survey, like the results would be, how can Warden with Thick Blood Warden exist at the same time that like PK and Nobu are trying to be buffed, with Warden straight up deleting their ability to bleed or get to their, in PK's case, new options. So yes, we agree that does suck. We don't want a super feast or famine character like that. So what we're trying to do is keep some of the defensive passive benefits that you get from this tier 2 passive, while actually kind of evening out against the cast and giving you a smaller benefit in more more global states, basically.
So as a warden that like kind of struggles with Nobushi, I think I've just relied on Thick Blood for a long time to just like solve that problem for me. So I feel like you're coming at me personally, like you're telling me I need to get good. So with Thick Blood going away, like what are you giving me? Like, what's this thrilling comeback?
Yeah, so you'll thrillingly come back from situations. No, basically what it does is that it replaces Thick Blood entirely. So Thick Blood used to make you immune to bleed and fire damage. So like Steph said, like it was a problem because you literally denied Nobushi, PK, and Shaman a lot of their kits. So instead we're replacing it with Thrilling Comeback, which heals you when you activate Revenge. So it's still a passive, but it has a much more universal use. And it also helps. Basically, normally you pop Revenge while you're getting ganked. You're getting like in a group fight, and you've already lost a bit of health. So be able to heal yourself while you activate Revenge is a much more potent thing, and it's much more universal, right? It's always going to be useful. Whereas Thick Blood was either overpowered or did close to nothing. So this is a much better situation. I think it fits way better, and it really helps in all those crazy situations that we described.
It sounds like it's a little bit more skilled too.
Yeah,
like because it's based around Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for walking us through that, guys. I just looking at that list, I think it was a lot of what people were saying, so that's really cool to see. Talking of testing grounds, for year 5, what are our thoughts on where testing grounds is headed?
So for us, I mean, this is a really fantastic tool. We get to put up our hero changes a bit early. We get to find, the little pieces that are either wrong with it or we didn't quite expect, and we get to have that player participation element where they play it. We see what they're doing in the game and on social media. Then they fill out their surveys, and we really get to say, okay, based on what we did, based on their feedback, based on what we analyze on that, based on their feedback again. And then we either get to, push them live if that's the answer, as it was in PK Nobushi, or in Warden's case, make some changes to Thick Blood, for example, and some of the small things in the kit before pushing it live, or even delaying it even further. For us, amazing tool. We want to lean in this as much as we can.
And JC, I think we have a little bit of a reveal here coming up.
Yeah, so one of the things where we want to do in year 5 for testing grounds is we're aiming to have more frequent testing grounds so we can test out more of these changes more often. And as Nico announced a bit earlier, we have one coming up in the year 5 season 1. It's going to be coming up right after the event that starts when the season starts. As he announced, we have Shigoki and Aramusha in the testing grounds, but there's also other characters. So we have a little family picture here. Yeah, so that's it. So we have Shigoki and Aramusha, but on top of that, we also have Jiangjun, Berserker, Zanhu, Hitukiri, and Gladiator. So a lot of these have pretty large changes, make them more viable. That's our goal, and make them more playable in a lot of situations. So that's super exciting. We hope that you'll join us again soon when we go into more detail as to what their changes are. Should be happening a little bit before the testing grounds. And so it's super exciting. 7 heroes is a lot of stuff. It's super dense. It's a lot of changes, but it's for the best. I think we're going to end up in a much better situation with these guys. So that should be really interesting. So yeah, more that's more or less what it is. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it, and we'll see you later.